Matty, go ahead.
Hey, Pablo,
Matty, what's up?
you rotated 10 guys in Orlando with this match in mind. Did you get what you wanted out of that heading into tomorrow night's match?
Well, we'll see after the match, Matty. I love this phrase, man makes plans and God laughs. I love that phrase. I think given all the information that we have available to us, I think it's the right decision, but only after can we assess whether or not it worked out. So what I said the last game we played against Dallas was we looked fatigued. And given the importance of this game, the one thing I want to eliminate is the chance to be fatigued, right? So eliminating one variable, now we're talking about the plan and the execution. So I think from that perspective, it's the best choice. And again, now we have to compete against a team that is in great form, full of confidence, and it's exciting for me knowing that it's not just any team. It's a Mexican team that's in great form in their domestic league, has beat up on some MLS teams, and here we are, right? And so for me, it's really a test of, we're going to have to be at our best in all phases of the game. Mentality, the duels will be critical, and transition moments. If we can be top in those areas, we'll have a good chance. If we're not, we're going to be up against this side.
So I almost hate to ask another planning question, but in the last few MLS games, RSL has scored first, but not held on to win. In an elimination game, what has to change if you do get the first?
Yeah, and I think that's been the our Achilles heel is, just going back the last 6 or 7 games where we've played extremely well, but have failed to, and I think in our last 3 Leagues Cup games, we played exemplary for 90 minutes. And I think that's the type of concentration and focus, right? So, just going back to that Dallas game is tactically we were set up on all the goals to deny those opportunities because we had a minimum of +2 on every goal. But did we have the right mentality to be ready to defend? And so I think, this game's going to be 95+ minutes. And my hope is that I'm going to have to rotate quite a few players after this game for the weekend because they are not just physically exhausted, but cognitively spent and emotionally drained. And that's what it's going to take to win this game.
Awesome. And then we've had, this isn't just a knockout game, right? You're 2 games away from CONCACAF, you're 3 games from a trophy. Does that change your message to the guys, or are we just going 90 at a time? Let's look at what's in front of us.
No, listen, I think the guys know exactly what's at stake here. And the fact that there's, I believe, 3 scenarios where if we make it to the finals, we can actually host that game. So I don't think there's a greater impetus than a trophy for the guys. Obviously, the decision to rest, 10 guys at the weekend, I think, again, words are cheap. It's the actions that mean something. And when you're willing to rest 10 guys because you feel like not only can you give these guys a rest, but those 10 guys are ready to compete against Orlando, the takeaway from that is we got a rested group, and then we've discovered some really, really good performances against Orlando that can help now build looking forward. So I think the guys know what's at stake here. The onus is on us to really, I think the first 15 minutes will be crucial in this game. Really, the first 15 minutes, a lot of times they're boxers in the ring and they want to know what they're bringing. Are they bringing heat early? Are they jabbing? Are they going to wait for the counterpunch? So it's going to be a feel-out game. But for us, I think it's really important that we're clean and confident in the decisions that we're making with and without the ball in the first 15 minutes to really get into the game.
Thank you. And then just one last one for me. One of those guys that you rotated was Sergi Solans, rookie in the league. When you drafted him, what did you see that made you confident to tell him he was going to be able to earn minutes for your team? And now he's broken Corey Barrett's record with half the year to go.
Yeah, that's a great.
He exceeded it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I had the opportunity of having him in for probably 3 days last year and train with a group. And what I saw was a guy that was really committed to a couple different things. One, he's committed to making 2 or 3 actions to receive the ball, which I thought was really high level from an attacking perspective. His commitment to defending and pressing was also high level, and his commitment to learning. He was asking me questions, knowing about the tactics, knowing that he's only going to be there for 3 days, and it's these little moments that you can peel a lot back from the human being, and so I think that was our first introduction, and then as far as getting minutes, there was he was thinking about maybe staying another year in school, and what I said to him is, again, I'm an actions guy. I'm not a talk guy, even though I like to talk a lot. The truth is in the actions. And I said to him, go back and look at last year. Ari Pule played, I think, 24 or 26 games. I forget what it is. I think he started over 75% of those games, right? And so there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to tell you that you're going to get some playing time. Just look to what we did last year. And the proof will always be, it's the actions, right? So I'm not going to say anything. I'm just telling you, just go do a little bit of research, and you'll realize, like, guys like Gozo got a lot of playing time last year. Guys like Ari Pule got a lot of playing time last year. And so Noel broke into the group. And so we're not biased towards older, younger. We're biased towards quality of player, quality of character. And Sergi Solans has both of those, and that's why it's no surprise that he's in the position that he's in. And as to why resting him in Orlando is he continues to, his physical output continues to be amazing, and hence the reason he has a hard time finishing 90 minutes, because he's just through the roof in the numbers. And so again, just to make sure he's rested, but more importantly, that we don't injure him. Because obviously he's one of our most important attackers, right? And we know that chances are we're going to need him on the field to win games. But you also realize how many games he's played and the level of work he gives physically. You've got to find ways to give a young man like Sergi a rest so that he can continue to break through this year.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Okay, and before we move on to the next question, if you'd like the head coach's comments interpreted in Spanish, you can also use the interpretation function located at the bottom of your screens. Go ahead.
Okay, these are from Telemundo, Utah. ¿Qué representa para el equipo jugar en la casa del rival de Rocky Mountain Cup, los Colorado Rapids? ¿Hubieran preferido estar en otro estadio o está bien estar en este?
Pues yo creo que el partido es más importante que dónde vamos a jugar. Para nosotros es como estamos jugando de visitantes, si estamos jugando acá en Los Ángeles, en Nueva York, es un partido de visitante para nosotros, pero no cambia cómo preparamos para el rival, que es un rival que viene con una racha de victorias, que está jugando muy bien, con mucha confianza, y eso es la prioridad de nosotros como cuerpo técnico, pero también para los jugadores.
¿Qué opinión crees que merece el rival, que es el mejor equipo de la Liga MX en esta Copa?
Que la Liga MX tienen grandes equipos, y Club León hace 3 años atrás ganaron el Champions Cup. Son un club con mucha jerarquía, y ahora veo un equipo que, como dije, cuando tenés una racha de victorias jugás con más confianza, y tienen buenos jugadores que marcan la diferencia, y un equipo peligroso. Así, para sacar el triunfo en este partido, nosotros tenemos que jugar 10 por 10, o sea, tenemos que jugar el partido perfecto contra un equipo que está acostumbrado a la altura, que estamos jugando en la altura, y tenemos que estar listos de jugar el mejor partido del campeonato por 95 más minutos.
¿Qué tanto puede pesar el cansancio, teniendo en cuenta que han estado jugando muchos partidos seguidos en los últimos días, con poco descanso?
Yo creo que, mira, todos los equipos tienen desafíos que están encontrando la manera de sobrepasar o superar. Y para nosotros es eso. Ayer nos tomó casi 8 horas de viaje de Orlando, y eso para mí son excusas, porque dimos descanso a 11 jugadores que van a salir mañana, listo para este momento. Es una gran oportunidad para los jugadores, para el club, seguir en este torneo contra un gran equipo que andan muy bien. Así para nosotros tenemos que aprovechar el momento contra León.
Y la última pregunta, ¿crees que es esta la semana más importante de lo que va de la temporada? Tienes los cuartos de final en un torneo internacional y también el Rocky Mountain Cup, que ya está próximo a pasar también.
Sí, a mejor de ese punto de vista yo creo que sí, pero el partido mañana es un partido grande y vamos a enfocar todo en sacar el resultado necesario para este partido. Si empezamos a mirar al futuro, perdemos la oportunidad de aprovechar este momento. Y para mí eso es lo más importante para el grupo.
Gracias.
Now we will go over to Zoom. We'll go ahead and kickstart with David James. Go ahead, David.
Pablo, I'm curious with Club Leon, what do they do, maybe just in some phases of the game, that remind you of a team that you've seen and RSL fans have seen, even if it's not exactly like a club, maybe the way they transition, the way they handle set pieces, any comparisons there?
I would say a little bit like Dallas, where they have some they're all technical players, but they're really dynamic. They're super dangerous in transition, and I think that's the phase of the game where they'll ask a lot of the questions, but not too dissimilar than Tigres and Atalante and Juarez. These teams do a good job of getting into a block when they get broken, and they work their tails off. And then from that block, the quality that they have in transition to eliminate the first defender and then break out. So for us, our defending transition and putting out fires higher up the field will be critical. Our commitment from our front guys to connect to our midfield to form a good block of 5-4-1 when we get broken will be critical. But I would say it's pretty similar to Dallas, where especially in that first half where they got out in transition, and it was tough to put out fires. So we got to have we must have great reactions to losses to turnovers in our attacking third. And that really starts with the guys up front. So there's going to be a big demand for the guys up front to not only score goals, but to be super engaged when the ball gets lost, so that we can minimize their greatest strength, which is, I think, transition attacking.
Okay, and now we will go ahead with Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, you mentioned how the players are physically and emotionally exhausted. How do you get them through this? And the fact that there's a trophy within reach, that's obviously got to help. Is that some extra motivation for them to kind of keep going?
Yeah, I think the reason to rest so many players at the weekend was to make sure that we eliminated one variable from the equation going into this game. And so fatigue. I mean, you can think about yesterday. We had an 8.5-hour travel day, so even when you make plans, like I said earlier, God laughs. But for the most part, as far as the meters covered in the last 6 days for the guys that are starting tomorrow is very minimal. And I think if we can eliminate that variable, then it really comes down to execution mentality in the game tomorrow. And that was really the whole purpose. And I think being 3 games away from hoisting a trophy, we all know MLS is an incredibly difficult league to obtain any trophy. And being 3 games away and the guys putting themselves in this position is a moment we can't let from our grasp. So the guys are well aware, and again, I think that's why the start of tomorrow's game is going to be really critical, to not allow the noise, the travel, or the games, or this or that, right? If we're dialed in the first 15 minutes, and from an engagement perspective, I feel like we'll be in a good position to have a great performance that leads to hopefully a great result.